I spoke about my Christian friend.
Mm.
In my eyes, and I've had countless Christian friends who are rooted in their own
Yeah.
spiritual journey as
Yeah.
well. I do feel she was a bit of an extremist, and she would look down upon what I did. I know she looks down upon what you do as well.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, but I'm bringing her up because I'm trying to go back to the time that Christianity took over Europe.
Mm.
I am sure there were extremist Christians back then as well.
It was an extreme religion.
Back then,
Yeah.
um, I'm sure they looked down upon ancient European practice in the same manner.
They destroyed ancient European practice. If you look at ancient statues in museums, you'll find very often that they've had their noses smashed off. And you look at them and you think, oh, this must just be a delicate part of the sculpture, and this has been damaged. But no. The Christians deliberately destroyed the gods that were in the statues by smashing the noses off the statues and often carving crosses on them as well.
Why the nose?
Because it's where the breath comes in, and the breath is the spirit. So the bringing in of the spirit to the statue, that's where the life is, the prana. So it prevents them being able to function magically.
The Sphinx also has a destroyed nose.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a deliberate counter magic because they believed that there were demons in the statues, because the Christianity believes that all rival gods are demons. This is the difficulty with the approach that's taken, because it's begun as Judaism, and in Judaism they have a tribal god, and the way that their culture had cohesion was that the people all had to worship the same god. And then when Christianity came along, it took the same idea of a singular God and a singular truth and a singular way of doing things. And in order to do that, all of the pagan gods had to be demonized, had to become demons, had to be described as demons, had to be described as the devil. So they have a very limited view of the spiritual universe. And that's the difficulty with talking with Christians. I mean, so for example, you still see churches that will ban people having a yoga class in the church hall because they believe that this is satanic. Just the practice of hatha yoga is seen as a satanic thing.
My friend would say this to me, like, "Oh, why are you meditating? This is demonic. What you're doing."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, I really think that this is an assumption on your end because you've not experienced it yourself.
Yeah.
I don't have bad intention towards any human being.
No.
Why would I do something demonic?" But she couldn't wrap her head around that.
Yeah.
And I reached a point with her where I said that, hey, you know what? You're brainwashed in your way. I'm brainwashed in my way. And her response to that was, no, you're the only one who's brainwashed. I'm not brainwashed.
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything after that.
Yeah. This is the difficulty when dealing particularly with the Abrahamic religions, is that they have a very narrow understanding of the spiritual world. And so they will reject everything which is outside of their understanding.
In saying all this, I do believe in Jesus Christ myself. I do believe he's one of my angels, along with Hanumanji, along with Kalima. And on some level, I don't think that this is what Jesus Christ would have wanted. But the people who were responsible for spreading Christianity, I do believe that over the years, perhaps they altered some of his original teachings in order to spread it geographically. Because historically speaking, the human being is a warring species. We've always been at war. And as we know is the case with modern politics, religion is a tool that can be used for political benefit.
Yeah.
So at one point, there were some people who were responsible for spreading Christianity who added this level of extremism and intensity to it, which may not have been there originally. Unfortunately, it stayed in some pockets today. You speak to a lot of Christians today, they're relaxed. I had one of the best conversations of my life with Brother Salvador. He had respect for me and he understood that at the end of the day, we're both chasing divinity. If only we lived in a world where every religious person understood that, that's great. Live and let live. We're human beings at the end of the day. We're all born in different cultures for a reason. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional about this.
No. It's the idea. I mean, speaking to the idea of Jesus, it's very difficult to understand who the historical Jesus was, and it's difficult also to understand very often what people mean when they say it, because you can take different parts of his teaching and you can tell quite different stories about who he was as a man and what the basis of his teaching is. And when you were talking about exorcism was a very critical part of the Christian faith to begin with, where Jesus was, and I know it upsets some people, but Jesus was working as a magician in terms of the way that he was performing miracles, in the way that many God men were doing in the ancient Near East. He was engaged in a whole series of things that I don't see as being particularly remarkable, because I see that they've been done by magicians in the same period who didn't achieve the same status as him. And I think there are good aspects of the teaching, but for me, overall, the difficulty is that it says there is only this one way of doing things, and that we have a fixed duality of good and evil, and that all of the things that we say in the Book of Rules is good and everything else is bad. And I think that leads people to some very difficult conclusions.
Yeah. I brought up the book, The Autobiography of a Yogi. I highly recommend it to you and to anyone from the West. It was Steve Jobs' favorite book as well. We have Virat Kohli from our country, who's the country's biggest celebrity currently. It's his favorite book as well. It's my favorite book as well, because it's got a lot of secrets of reality tailored in, and it's a very difficult book to get through. But at the end of it, you'll come out a different person. It speaks about Kriya Yoga as a specific kind of yoga related to your own body's energy. It's very advanced. You need to prepare your body for it. The intention is to connect with the divine once again. But it specifically focuses on 6 masters: Lahari Mahashay, Yukteswar Giri, Yoganand Paramhans, who's the author, Mahavatar Babaji, who is one of the most advanced sages that the earth has ever seen, Bhagwan Shri Krishna from Sanatan Dharma, and Lord Jesus Christ. And it looks at these 6 as the advanced masters who forwarded the secrets of spiritual advancement to human beings. And I've practiced with that school of yoga for years now. I feel a connection with each of those masters individually. I am of the belief that Jesus Christ was definitely a sage. He definitely reached a level of advancement. But I'm also pretty convinced that his original teachings are slightly altered.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of what we think of as being Christianity is probably better thought of as the work of St. Paul. Paul very much set the mold for what Christianity became. And when you look at Paul's work, he draws on paganism to a huge degree. He draws on the ancient Greek philosophers, and he quotes and paraphrases them. It's quite easy to do a Google search and find out how many phrases that you think are Paul's phrases are in fact taken from the philosophers, because Christianity, when it began in the Roman Empire, lacked a philosophical core. It wasn't a very developed religion. And so they took a lot of ideas from other places. And then when Christianity became a state religion with the Roman Empire, it took on a lot of ideas from the Germanic influence. So the German ideas of the sun god, of the undying sun god, become folded into Christianity. And then when you look at the way that they have the worship, as I said earlier, of the Virgin Mary and of the cult of the saints and the cult of the angels, well, as the voodoo practitioners know, these are very often masks of other earlier deities or other forces, because people find it very difficult to have a relationship with a distant creator god, and they need to talk to a spirit which is closer to them. And we have that in paganism. And so Christianity had to almost recreate paganism with the angels and with the saints, and to enable people to connect on a closer level to people and stories that were more like they were.
So the essence of it with the angels and the saints is still the same.
Yeah, I think there are continuities that we see, because we're all dealing with the same forces that are flowing through these forms.
I agree.